Cool air, subtle breeze, pina coladas, and waves crashing up onto the beach. These are some of the things that come to mind when I hear palm green. Yep, I'm weird. I accepted that and gave up on trying to normalize a long time ago. I'm also aware that palms are a type of tree that can exist away from a beach. That's kind of how my mind works. So we're going to stick with the analogy from the cold open and continue on. So now that we've got that side tangent out of the way, let's talk about the ink. This set of Kaweco cartridges was part of my 10-color grab bag. So if you've seen the other Kaweco ink videos, then you know how my thoughts are on that $25 deal. But I still think that if this ink becomes a part of my collection permanently, then I'm gonna have to go with the bottles because, well, it's just a better price to volume than these cartridges come out to be. One side note before we jump in, some brands like to make sure that the outer packaging is true to color of what you're gonna get in the bottle. And I gotta admit, I'm disappointed in you, Kaweco. You don't do that. And, I don't know, at least on the cartridges. I'm gonna have to take a look at some of the other bottle labels to see if those colors match up, but if you saw the caramel brown video, then you know that I really don't think they do. For now though, let's take a look at this green ink and see if it's worth adding to the collection. I'm going to shake things up a bit on this one and start off with the dry times, and this ink is off to a good start. On Rhodia, we are completely dry under 10 seconds, and on Tomoe, we are almost just as fast with the dry time, coming in at just over the 10-second mark. And if this ink looks good for the water test and coming out of the pen, this may actually usurp 4001 Dark Green for my top spot. Speaking of which, let's talk water. I've had this writing sample sitting around for about 10 minutes, so it's close to a real-world example of the type of writing that would be in danger around me and liquids. I don't think we're going to have any green left, but with the exception of 1 or 2 greens, I tend to see good performance from this color. And yeah, once we get the paper dried off, what we're left with here is actually a really good result. This is a nice dark underlay that is really easy to recover. So let's take a look at the color and see how this one stacks up. I'm noticing a trend with Kaweco. The colors aren't bold in the sense of sheen and shimmer, but they are in the base color itself. For a straightforward green, this is actually pretty good. On the right, we have the lighter mids touching on fern with a hint of jade, and I think it's a good mix of those lighter mids. Moving on over to the darker mids and the transition tones, palm green kind of goes from emerald forest on the bottom and then fades into a bit of pine mixed with Sacramento green. On a tangent, who comes up with these names? Back to the ink though. You'll notice I didn't use palm to describe any of the shades, and the reason why is that I have yet to find a consistent shade of palm. It feels more like a color family to me than a specific color, and on the individual shades, I think this one kind of hits all of them, and it looks good without having to throw in sheen and shimmer to grab your attention. So now that we've looked at the key performance indicators, how does this look coming out of the pen? For this review, we're starting with a Kaweco broad nib on Tomoe. Now, don't let the dry time fool you. This ink straight from the nib plays more like a gusher than it does an overly dry ink. And on Tomoe, it manages to do this and retain dynamics. I'm getting a good mix of the true midtones, fading really close to the Pine Sacramento combination. Out of a medium or fine nib though, even a slower writer like myself will find this ink sitting more consistently in the mids and struggling to go over into the deeper tones, even on Tomoe. It's not a bad thing though, but if you want a consistently darker green on Tomoe, and you are a faster writer or using a thinner nib, I would look elsewhere. What about Rhodia though? Well, let's just say that the dynamics are gone, at least from this broad nib. Also, the nib doesn't look broad anymore. At my tempo, I'm seeing 1 nib width loss from broad to medium, which kinda seems to be a trend on these Kaweco inks. At least on Rhodia, that is. That said, moving back over to the dynamics, out of my broad nib, this ink started at clover with a hint of emerald and kinda just stayed there. It's a bit of a shame that we don't get to see that full range that we saw over on TR, but it could be worse. This green shade is very well done, and when paired with the results from the dry time and water resistance, it's actually a good combination. On top of that, we also get a really nice lubrication and no hard starting or skipping on either paper. So to circle around to the elephant in the room, yeah, when I run out of 4001 dark green, this ink is probably going to step in to become my daily driver for that color. And that's going to do it for our look at Kaweco Palm Green. If you like the video, hit that thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't, and become a patron if you want to contribute to the Dog Treat and Coffee Fund. Till next time, don't drink the ink.